You got to be a little bit more based. All these folks be talking about, oh man, Thomas Sowell is so based. He's not that based, bro. He's pretty biased. Do better, man. Do better. Why would you even put this clip in your video? What's going on, y'all? Micah, and I'm back with another boxing video breakdown, man. This one is not a fight, but this one is about boxing. And we got your boy Thomas Sowell just out of his wheelhouse again, talking about things that he has no business talking about, that he has no knowledge of, quite frankly, if you ask me. It's like, bro, did you even ever play sports? Looking at your body, it looks like you were never an athlete in your life. You obviously have never fought, based on the things that you said in the last video. But this video right here is titled, How Muhammad Ali Changed Sports for the Worse. And I'm trying to figure out what kind of bone that Thomas Sowell has to pick with Muhammad Ali. I guess like back in their heyday or something like that, in the 1950s or something, they was both in the drive-through, and Thomas Sowell got his girl took from Muhammad Ali, and you know, ever since then he's like, yeah, he's unsportsmanlike. I don't like him. I don't know. Like, I just don't understand why he hates Muhammad Ali. I don't really understand why he is having so much disdain for his own. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe somebody dissed him and he just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying like black people are above reproach. You know, we don't have obvious issues, but I think that Thomas Sowell is a sellout because if you think about it, most of his audience is white people and people from other countries that aren't black as well. And it's not like he's saying, all right, so this is wrong with the black community, and this is how us as the black community, I think we should change these things and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, maybe he might sprinkle in a couple, 2-3 things about why he thinks these particular people over here are messing up the money and how they should do stuff. It's like all strictly like, this is wrong with the black community, and check this out, Brad. Come look at this. Look how stupid they are. Look how trash they are. It's like, bro, you're a sellout, bro. You're not doing anything helpful, really. A lot of the white guys are just happy that he's just downing black people, to be honest, but he's not really helpful. Like, it's like you're talking about all this kind of stuff. What are you doing to fix it? Since you're supposed to be this brilliant soul wisdom kind of guy, why aren't you, you know, jumping in the community and, you know, I guess being a speaker for things that could be better, or ways that we could change it? Since you're supposed to be this smart man, you just wasted your whole life just to down people, I guess. I mean, I guess you got money out of it. You were smart enough to trick out these little white folks and make them think that, oh yeah, well, yeah, tell them, Thomas. Since it's like they can't say it directly, you can say it. But yeah, man, he's definitely a sellout. Let's go ahead and see if he has any good points in this video, man. Again, the title is How Muhammad Ali Changed Sports for the Worse. Do you think he changed sports for the worse? I personally don't think. I think he was one of the only people back in the days that would speak out against little silly situations, against injustice, things that most people wouldn't say. Let's keep going.
Watching old boxing matches on DVDs tells us something about some of the ways in which American society has changed. The first thing I noticed about the boxers back in the era of Joe Louis, from the 1930s into the 1950s, is that they all wore regulation boxing trunks and they didn't have tattoos. There was no trying to outdo each other with garish boxing trunks or wild tattoos. They didn't try to stare each other down when the referee was giving them instructions before the fight. Seldom did any. All
right, he's coming up with silly little tactics or little silly arguments again, man. The regulation boxing trunks and the tattoos. Tattoos is kind of, yeah, I guess it was taboo back in your day, like in 1920s or something like that. But now it's you know, it's kind of regular. It doesn't exactly mean that somebody's a bad person. I personally don't have any tattoos, but I don't think it automatically means you're a bad person. As far as having boxing trunks that are different and gaudy or whatever like that, it is what it is, man. I'm getting ready to go in that ring and put my health on the line, put my faculties on the line. I'm gonna go in dressed as I feel like. I don't have an issue with that. I don't think there's any problem with me wearing a specific type of boxing trunks that say my name on the front, and maybe they have my favorite color on the side, and this and that, and a couple different sponsors that are actually paying me to live and box and support my lifestyle. I don't see a problem with that, man. And then I guess what else did he say? The last thing he talked about was the stare downs. I'm not like a real fan of the whole stare down thing. I think it's silly, but it's like, man, it's not nothing wrong with it, man. You're in a fight. This is boxing, where, you know, you got to get every little edge you can. You have to stare the guy down. Maybe you can get a little intimidation in that thing. You never know. I don't really see an issue with that, man. We're just staring each other down. It's not like I stared him down and that caused his family to all meet their untimely death. Come on, Thomas. Do a little bit better with that. Let's go.
Boxers go in for showboating during the fight. There was no denigrating the other fighter, either before or after the fight. After Joe Louis knocked out an opponent, Any comment he made was usually along the lines of, "He's a good fighter and very game." Sometimes he would add, "He had me worried for a while," though there was seldom any real reason to worry.
Alright, man, so again, I would say back in the day, black dudes had to be a good old boy if they wanted to go on get along gang, man. Your boy Joe Louis didn't really have a choice but to say all those things. He probably was actually a good guy, to be honest. But as far as, him not denigrating anybody before or after the fight, he had to do what he had to do back in those days when, you basically didn't have rights as a black man. As far as now, I think it's about selling the fight, man. You have to sell the fight in order to get that pay-per-view. It's not like people running around sucking pricks and bending over to, to get that extra deal or something like that. Some guy was talking about how, yeah, you guys, you said that you don't like selling out, but then you talked about how it's okay to sell out for boxing. That's not the same thing, man. It's not the same thing at all, bro. Like, selling out would be what Thomas Sowell is doing. You're going against your own kind, or you're going against things. You're saying things that you pretty much don't really believe. You couldn't possibly believe these things, or you're doing things that they just don't line up with your morals or your values or anything. Like, yeah, like you're sucking pricks or you're bending over just because you want to get a deal. Those are things. But I don't think that you saying, yeah, I'm going to knock him out in 10 and then I'm going to go for the win or something like that. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to talk about how you're going to do this, you're going to do that in the ring. You've been training. This is what you do. You're a fighter after all. So I am going to go in there and do this and do that in the ring. I don't see an issue with that. As far as denigrating after the sport, you rarely really see guys doing too much denigrating after the fight. They mostly go out, they talk to each other, shake each other's hands, even in the back. There are guys coming up in the back in the locker room. It's like, hey man, you did it good. What did I do here? What do you think I could do better? There are a bunch of examples of that.
I just come in to show my respect and congratulations tonight. And you came out, you done your business, and
It's not very often that you see constant denigrating, and I guess Thomas Sowell might be hurt about it, but one of his good old boys, one of his good old W boys, Conor McGregor, is the king of that. Actually, he's the king of that. He's the main one that's like, hey man, he say some crazy stuff about your family and then come back after the fight and want to fight you because he's getting beat up. And that's your people, Thomas. Let's get it.
One of the fighters who did give Joe Louis a real battle, and who was ahead on points when Louis knocked him out, was Billy Conn. But when Conn lost his balance in their much-anticipated rematch, Louis simply let him regain his balance before continuing the fight. How many boxers today would do that, especially against someone who was a real threat?
That's part of the rules. I just watched that clip right there. The guy was slipping. Joe Louis actually tried to punch him while he was going down, and when he went down, Joe Louis didn't hit him. That's a regular part of the rules. All boxers do that right now. Unless you are just really just a trash truck human. Most boxers do that. They will probably throw a couple punches because they're trying to hit you on your way down. And if you actually do hit the ground, butt on the ground, knee on the ground or something like that, they won't hit you. That's pretty normal. What are you talking about, Thomas? Learn the rules before you get out here and start talking. Keep speaking, keep on selling out to your little audience. Let's go.
Although Joe Louis was widely respected as a model of sportsmanship, he was by no means the only one who behaved like a gentleman in the ring. That became a norm that heavyweight champions after him tried to live up to until the 1960s. Early in his career, Louis was upset by Max Schmeling, who knocked him out. Although Schmeling was from Germany, and some tried to depict him as a Nazi, Schmeling went over to help Louis to his feet after the knockout. In their rematch, the first thing Max Schmeling did upon entering the ring was go over to Louis's corner to shake hands with him, even before going to his own corner. It was a gesture that distanced him from the Aryan supremacy interpretation of his victory over Louis that the Nazi regime in Germany had made after their first fight. The loutish, loud...
He loves using that little guy, man. That's like the only example of a guy that he has that was a decent white guy back in the day in the boxing field. I mean, I don't really know too much about the other guys, what they did on the outside of their life, but they probably were a little bit racist, if you want to keep it real, man. I actually watched an old video about Jack Johnson.
Great white hope. That phrase actually came to existence in the era of Jack Johnson.
And I guess, he defeated the Great White Hope. There was some dude that he was the heavyweight championship. He was the heavyweight champion. He went into retirement. Jack Johnson got the championship, and then he was beating up on everybody, and all the white people were so mad that they said this guy needs to come out of retirement after 10 years. He lost 100 some odd pounds to do it, and this guy was saying stuff like, yeah, I can't wait to get him up out of there. I'm gonna bring it back for the white race. Come on, man. So that's the only example you have? You got to be a little bit more based. All these folks be talking about, oh man, Thomas Sowell is so based. He's not that based, bro. He's pretty biased, actually, if you want to keep it a buck. Just because he's black doesn't mean that he's based because he's saying a white dude is nice or something like that. Come on, man. All y'all need to do a little bit better. All you guys in the Thomas Sowell wisdom thing are ducks. I can't really understand it. Some things he says are valid, but for the most part, it's very biased. It's not based. It's pretty obvious. Let's go.
Mouth and childish displays that have become all too common today in boxing, as well as in other sports, began in the 1960s, like so many other signs of social degeneration.
His fighting days began with his involvement in the Battle Royals, a cruel contest where a group of young African-American boys were blindfolded and forced to fight for the entertainment of the social elite. The majority of the time, Jack Johnson was the last man standing.
Here we have a black dude just trying to go to work, got his nice suit on, and you got white dudes kicking him around and throwing him around for no reason. Looks like degeneration on display to me. Anybody who follows Thomas Sowell is probably a racist and definitely a raccoon, man, because he wants you to forget about this or just act like this stuff never happened. Come on, man, this is definitely degeneration.
When Muhammad Ali became heavyweight champion in 1964, it marked the end of the era when boxers simply did their job, collected their money, and went home, usually after a few brief words. What about the quality of the fighters themselves? There have been great fighters in both earlier and later times. Mike Tyson's one-round knockouts electrified many boxing fans, but Joe Louis still holds the record for one-round knockouts in heavyweight championship fights. The only way you can be sure who hit hard...
Nobody cares, Thomas. Mike Tyson is much more electric, much more entertaining. I know that you really love Joe Louis, but come on, man.
Harder would be to be on the receiving end of their punches, and none of the boxing pundits ever agreed to do that. Lewis's punches tended to be short and quick, but guys went down like they had been struck by lightning. When Lewis knocked out Jimmy Braddock, the Cinderella Man, to win the championship, Braddock lay face down on the canvas without moving while he was counted out, and afterwards his handlers had to come out from his corner to get him back on his feet. It was much the same story when Rocky Marciano won the championship from Jersey Joe Walcott.
Look at that right there. Y'all see that? That's actually an example that goes against what Thomas Sowell said earlier, that guys back in the day didn't punch guys who were going down or lost balance. This guy, yeah, he got knocked down, and he was already down. That's even worse. You knocked him down. He's already down on his knees, hand to the ground. If your hand touches the ground, if your butt touches the ground, if your knees touch the ground, you are down. He still hit him. And this is a white guy that you love so much, Thomas. Do better, man. Do better. Why would you even put this clip in your video? I know it looks cool to you because you don't know anything about boxing, but why did you put this clip in your video? Come on, man.
After a right to the jaw from Marciano, Walcott fell limp. As he fell, his arm got tangled in the ropes, so that Walcott fell forward with the top of his head resting on the canvas. He was counted out in that position without moving a muscle, and his handlers too had to come get him and revive him before they could take him back to his corner. How would the fighters of the past do against the bigger and heavier fighters of a later era? We will never know.
We absolutely do know. You just kind of said it right there. You put two people right there. You put whatever that guy Rocky Marciano versus Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury would run this guy over like an 18-wheeler. Absolutely. Deontay Wilder destroyed that guy. Any of the other guys, even the kind of secondary auxiliary guys would put him in. They would put that work on him. All them guys from the back in the day, a lot of guys from back in the day, the boxing style was totally different. It was much more stiff. It was not very much footwork, not a lot of head movement. So the new guys are much slicker. They're much better. There are so many more evolutions and tricks and flips that come with boxing now that things are different. Whether it be that your opponent is better, and that's why Mike Tyson doesn't have as many knockouts as Joe Louis. No disrespect to Joe Louis, I like that guy too. Or just the fact that it just makes you a better fighter to the point where you would blow over these old guys. It's only fair to say that the new guys would steamroll the old guys. Let's be real about it. Let's go.
We do know is that Rocky Marciano, who was strictly a knockout fighter, never fought as heavy as 190 pounds, and Joe Louis was at his best at no more than 200 pounds.
Yep, you said it right there, man. Tyson Fury is what, 260, 280, something like that, something crazy like that. Deontay Wilder, 225. Anthony Joshua's probably like 240, 250, something like that. Andy Ruiz is pretty big. Even the one guy who came up and beat Anthony Joshua, the Ukrainian dude, Usyk. Usyk is even bigger, and he's not even a heavyweight. So yeah, all these guys are already bigger. So that would give you an advantage right there. They all also fight better with better techniques than these guys. So there's that as well. So yeah, Thomas Sowell, you lose again in this boxing argument, man, and you need to stay out of that, man. Also, I will note that you did not say much about Muhammad Ali and how he ruined sports for the worst. So you just have a bone to pick with Muhammad Ali. I know this guy isn't Thomas Sowell, because I think his voice is different. I've actually heard him talk because I wanted to hear what he sounded like. This guy is just some guy that's a ball licker of Thomas Sowell. But yeah, man, it's just, yeah, the arguments weren't really good there. They weren't really good, man. You don't know much about boxing, so you should stay in your lane. Anybody else that comes in the comments and says anything stupid, I will go ahead and finish you off because you probably don't know what you're talking about. Some guy actually came in and said, yeah, this, and this, and you're getting all Thomas Sowell's arguments wrong, and that's why you have straw man arguments and all this kind of stuff. And I told him, I said, bro, first off, you're not black. Secondly, you don't know anything about boxing. And guess what his rebuttal was? So what? So what? Huh? That means you don't need to be in here talking about nothing, bro. Don't talk about it. Shut up. But that's it for the video right there, man. Y'all let me know what you guys think about it. If you watched to this point, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.